Again, we're here with the present levels, goals, and objectives part of the IEP. So here we're under the general factors, and I just wanted to touch upon this if you didn't watch this one before. So right here is where the domains are. So you have to click these in order to write a goal underneath that domain. So I'm going to click social, emotional, and curriculum. So we're going to save. Don't forget to save. And then we're going to go to the next page. So right here is where are we going to add the goals? So we're doing each one separately. So if you click this here, it shows you the domains that you checked. So, if the child has language or speech issues or anything like that, and you need to go add in the communication domain, you would just go back to the general factors and click on that. So we are going to add a goal for the curriculum and learning. So we're describing the strengths. So what can the student do? What are they really good at? What have they shown in school and data-wise and interview-wise, what they're good at? So describing the level of achievement and function based on the classroom data, including observation, work samples, and age-appropriate transition assessment, if applicable. So that's usually in 8th grade, they take the career inventory. That's usually what's in there as well. But this is where we want to get input from our gen ed teachers. We want to put in what we have observed of the student, what their weaknesses are. Again, we talked about their strengths, but we should go back and forth. This is where we get to describe the student. How are they? Again, going back to that stranger test. If you were to read this, would you be able to get a mental picture of that student's abilities? And that's what we want to describe right here. The next portion is underneath curriculum and learning. That's what I should say. All of this has to do with curriculum and learning. So that's the domain that we're under right here. So we're under curriculum and learning. So this is what we want. We want to focus on their strengths. They're really good in math. They can add and subtract multi-digits. He or she seems to like math. Those are really simple sentences, but something to describe the student's strengths. And the same thing academically. How are they in reading? How are they in math? How are they in social studies and in science? Are they really good at labs because they are more hands-on? Or he's really or she's really good at studying vocabulary with vocabulary cards. It needs to be a little bit more specific to the student. This right here is how the student's disability or giftedness affects their student's involvement in the progress towards general curriculum. So what are we doing differently? What is different about their disability that we're helping them with? What is the struggle? So that's kind of what we're explaining here. And then we go into the curriculum and learning actual goal. So we want to make sure that this goal, and there was a little bit of a template right here. So let me copy and paste that here. So we're saying given something, the student will be able to, what will the student be able to? What we want them to do in the course of a year. So this goal is for 1 year for the annual review. So we want to make sure that it is something that they're working towards that can be obtainable for that student. It might not necessarily be grade level because they might not be on grade level. So we're working towards their level to get them to grade level. That's the point of this. This is that monitoring piece. So we put the accuracy as a percentage, or we can do 4 out of 5 tries or trials, or whichever you feel the best measuring tool would be for that. But again, don't forget, this has to be something quantitative that we would be able to show pictorially to either graph it or show some type of mastery, not mastery, or progress, no progress towards it. And then how we're going to actually collect this data. What is it going to be from? So is it going to be from the teacher's test Or is it going to be a checklist? Is it going to be work samples? What is it going to be? Excuse me. And then when are we reporting it? So when we pull this down, it says here 3 weeks, 4.5 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, every quarter, every semester, or other. So this can depend on the parent, the student, the wants and the needs out of the IEP committee. Typically, we do it every quarter. And this way it comes right with report cards, and they get reported on that way. So we would put 9 weeks. I would prefer quarter, which is because our quarters are broken up through the county. Like the district does that for us, and some of them are not exactly 9 weeks. I think the fourth quarter is about 10 weeks. So short-term and objectives right here. You can use that when you want to break up that goal. If that goal is ambitious, which it should be over that year. So we would break it up. You have to have benchmarks when a student is access points. So they should have that broken up. And it could just be different percentages. It could just be working towards partial of the goals. It just depends on what that student needs going forward. Again, always make sure that you save. Some teachers that I actually know write everything in Word and then they transfer everything over. Whatever you feel is easier, that it's either way, it works. So we are going to go back. I'm going to put X's in here so I can save, and then we can show what it looks like. I'm going to say 60% accuracy. Oh, see, it's telling me, no assessment data has been, or no assessments have been chosen. So it kicks back and says, hey, you can't save it yet. So we're going to do graded work sample, and then we're going to save. So right here, so this is where it would actually show that. So let's say you had a language arts goal, and now you want to have a math goal. So the math goal would not go under the social emotional domain. It would still go under the curriculum and learning. So we would click on that and say add goal, and then the same information is going to be there because it's curriculum still. So the strengths are still the same, the present levels are still the same, because hopefully you broke it up by subject so we can get a true picture of the student. And then right here, the goal is completely blank, and then you can create a math goal for them. And the same thing with the benchmarks as well. One more. I know this one's a little bit long, a little longer of a video, sorry. So now we have social emotional behavior domain. So if a student has maybe a behavior intervention plan or some specific social skills that they're working on, here is where we want to talk about their behavior strengths. Will they get along with certain people in the classroom? They really like to work in just a group of 2, not large groups, anything like that. That's where we want to describe that strength. And then the present level. So this right here, we want to be honest. Yes, we want everything in a positive light, but we still have to have that stranger test. So if the student is not behaving or is eloping from class or having issues keeping their hands to themselves, you want to make sure that you put that in there so the next person who reads the IEP actually gets a true picture of the student. And then how their disability, again, I'm on the wrong one, how the disability affects them going forwards in the progress towards the general education. So what is that result? And then we have the goal. So sometimes we can tie the goal in with the behavior intervention plan, and sometimes we can't. But this is why we discuss it as a team. We propose the goal, and then as an IEP team or committee, this is what we can talk about and discuss and tweak and go back. And again, this is for a whole year that they should be mastering that goal. And if not, we can come back and visit the goals again. Same exact thing. If it's a behavior, sometimes, or I feel like the majority of the time, I see that the teachers develop a checklist or there's some type of documented observation with it. And again, however, you want to report on the progress report. Normally, it really is quarterly. And then again, benchmarks if you need if you need to break that goal apart, and then you would just click save so it actually saves. So we want to make sure that we're picking goals that we can, and this is what you do, you would just copy and paste that goal right into this template right here that we talked about in a previous video. And then you would get the baseline data and you would go through it just like that. And that's how you keep track of everything. So it shouldn't be a burden. It should make your life easier so you can track things and have quantitative data right there to show, hey, they're making progress. Hey, they're not making progress. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I appreciate your time. Have a great night.